Would you believe me if I told you that the world's oldest and most widely read book contains a list of fruits so nutritionally powerful that modern science is still catching up to what ancient people already knew? We're not talking about a health food trend. We're not talking about a superfood fad. We're talking about fruits that were handpicked by biblical writers, consumed by kings, prophets, and entire civilizations, and are now being studied in laboratories around the world for their extraordinary healing properties. The Bible isn't just a spiritual text. It's a record of how ancient people lived, what they ate, and what kept them alive. And the fruits mentioned throughout its pages weren't chosen by accident. They were the fruits that sustained entire nations. Today I'm giving you 10 delicious fruits that heal you according to the Bible. Stick around because number 7 on this list is a tiny fruit that modern cardiologists are now calling one of the most heart-protective foods ever studied. And number 3 is a fruit so rich in antioxidants that researchers say it may actually slow the aging process at the cellular level. You've probably eaten some of these without ever knowing what they were doing for your body. Let's change that right now. At number 10 we got pomegranate. You want to talk about a fruit that earned its place in history? Pomegranate shows up in the Bible in Deuteronomy, Numbers, and the Song of Solomon. It was so highly regarded in ancient Hebrew culture that it was carved into the pillars of Solomon's temple and embroidered onto the robes of high priests. This was not just food. This was a symbol of life, health, and divine blessing. And modern science is now telling us that the ancient world was onto something extraordinary. Pomegranates contain a compound called punicalagin, which is so uniquely powerful that it is found almost nowhere else in nature. Studies have shown that pomegranate consumption supports healthy blood pressure, reduces LDL cholesterol oxidation, and delivers one of the highest antioxidant concentrations of any fruit ever measured. Research published in clinical nutrition journals has also linked regular pomegranate consumption to reduced inflammation markers in the body. In ancient times, people didn't need a research paper to tell them this fruit was special. They could feel the difference. And they made sure to record it. The pomegranate wasn't just eaten. It was revered. And now we know exactly why. Number 9. Figs. If there is one fruit that appears more consistently throughout the Bible than almost any other, it is the fig. From the very first pages of Genesis where Adam and Eve used fig leaves for cover, all the way to the book of Revelation, figs are woven into the entire biblical narrative. Jesus referenced fig trees multiple times. The prophet Isaiah used a fig poultice to heal King Hezekiah's life-threatening illness in 2 Kings chapter 20. That is not a small detail. That is a biblical figure using fruit as medicine thousands of years ago. And here is what makes that remarkable. Modern research confirms that figs are one of the most nutrient-dense fruits available to us today. Figs are exceptionally high in dietary fiber, which supports healthy digestion and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. They are a strong source of potassium, which supports healthy blood pressure and cardiovascular function. They contain polyphenol and flavonoids that have documented antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Research has also shown that fig extracts demonstrate antimicrobial activity, meaning they actively work against harmful bacteria in the body. Isaiah didn't have a medical degree, but what he prescribed to a dying king was something modern nutritional science now fully supports. The fig has been healing people since the beginning of recorded history. And it is still doing that job today. Number 8. Olives. Now technically when we talk about olives in a biblical context we have to be precise. The Bible references olives and olive oil extensively throughout both the Old and New Testament. Olive trees are mentioned in Deuteronomy, Judges, Romans, and Revelation among many others. The Mount of Olives is one of the most significant locations in the entire biblical story. This fruit was so central to ancient life in the Middle East that it represented peace, healing, and divine provision all at once. But let's talk about what this fruit actually does to your body. Olives and the oil pressed from them contain one of the most studied compounds in modern nutritional science. Oleocanthal, a natural anti-inflammatory compound found in extra virgin olive oil, has been shown in research to function similarly to ibuprofen in reducing inflammation in the body. That is a remarkable finding. Olives are also rich in oleic acid, a monounsaturated fat that research consistently links to reduced risk of heart disease and improved cardiovascular health. Studies have also documented that olive consumption supports healthy cholesterol levels, reduces oxidative stress, and contains compounds with potential cancer protective properties. The ancient world used olive oil for cooking, for medicine, for anointing the sick, and for healing wounds. They didn't know the science behind it. But generations of observation told them that this fruit and its oil kept people healthier and living longer. What they practiced by tradition, we now understand by science. For number 7, we got grapes. Remember in the intro when I told you to stick around for number 7? This is it. And it is worth the wait. Grapes are one of the most frequently mentioned fruits in the entire Bible. From Noah planting a vineyard in Genesis to Jesus using wine at the Last Supper, grapes and their byproducts are woven into some of the most significant moments in biblical history. The land of Canaan was described as so fertile that 2 men had to carry a single cluster of grapes on a pole between them. That is how central this fruit was to the biblical world. But here is where modern science steps in and makes things very interesting. Grapes contain a compound called resveratrol, and this is the compound that has cardiologists and researchers paying very close attention. Resveratrol has been shown in clinical studies to support heart health by improving blood flow, reducing inflammation, and protecting the lining of blood vessels. Research has also linked resveratrol to improved insulin sensitivity and potential protective effects against certain age-related diseases. Beyond resveratrol, grapes are rich in quercetin and anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that combat oxidative stress at the cellular level. Multiple peer-reviewed studies have identified regular grape consumption as a contributing factor to reduced cardiovascular risk. That is not a small claim. That is one of the leading causes of death worldwide being addressed by a fruit the Bible was recommending thousands of years ago. Ancient people didn't know what resveratrol was. But they knew that where grapes grew, people thrived. At number 6. Dates. If you wanted to survive in the ancient Middle East, dates were not optional. They were essential. Date palms are referenced throughout the Bible, from Exodus to Nehemiah to the book of Joel. The city of Jericho was literally called the city of palm trees. Deborah, one of the most powerful figures in the book of Judges, held court and delivered justice under a palm tree. This fruit was so deeply embedded in biblical civilization that it was considered a direct gift from God, a source of sustenance that could keep entire communities alive in some of the harshest desert conditions on earth. And when you look at the nutritional profile of dates, that makes complete sense. Dates are extraordinarily rich in natural sugars, fiber, and essential minerals including potassium, magnesium, and copper. But what makes dates particularly remarkable from a modern research standpoint is their effect on the digestive system and the brain. Studies have shown that dates contain compounds that support beneficial gut bacteria and improve overall digestive health. Research has also documented that dates are rich in flavonoids, carotenoids, and phenolic acid, antioxidants that have been linked to reduced inflammation and potential protective effects against neurodegenerative diseases. One study published in Nutritional Neuroscience found that regular date consumption was associated with improved memory and learning ability. Another line of research has explored dates as a natural way to support healthy labor and delivery in pregnant women with promising results. Ancient desert communities didn't have grocery stores. They had date palms. And those date palms kept them strong, sharp, and alive. For number 5? Almonds. Now some people are surprised to see almonds on this list because technically almonds are the seed of a fruit. But botanically almonds are classified as a drupe, which is a fleshed fruit with a hard inner shell containing a seed. And biblically almonds hold a significance that goes far beyond nutrition. Almonds are mentioned in Genesis when Jacob sends his sons to Egypt carrying almonds as a gift, recognizing them as something precious and valuable. In the book of Numbers, Aaron's rod miraculously blossomed and produced almonds overnight, a divine sign so significant that the almond blossom was later used as the design pattern for the golden lampstand in the tabernacle. The Hebrew word for almond, shakiyad, also means watchful or wakeful. Ancient Hebrew culture saw the almond tree as a symbol of alertness and divine attention. But here is what modern science says about what almonds do inside your body. Almonds are one of the most nutrient-dense foods ever studied. They are exceptionally rich in vitamin E, one of the most powerful fat-soluble antioxidants known to science, with documented protective effects on cell membranes and brain tissue. Research has consistently shown that regular almond consumption supports healthy LDL cholesterol levels, reduces cardiovascular risk, and helps regulate blood sugar response after meals. Studies have also linked almond consumption to improved gut microbiome diversity due to their high prebiotic fiber content. A fruit so sacred it was carved into the walls of the tabernacle. A food so powerful that modern nutritionists put it on nearly every superfood list ever written. The ancient world knew exactly what they were eating. At number 4 we got apples. Few fruits carry the cultural and biblical weight that apples do. The Song of Solomon references apples multiple times, describing their sweetness and their ability to restore and revive. "Comfort me with apples," is one of the most recognized lines in the entire book, suggesting that even in biblical times apples were associated with restoration and healing. While scholars debate the exact variety of fruit referenced in some biblical passages, the apple has remained one of the most consistently identified fruits in biblical literature and ancient Middle Eastern culture. And here is what makes this fruit deserve its place at number 4 on this list. Apples are one of the most researched fruits in modern nutritional science. They contain a powerful soluble fiber called pectin, which acts as a prebiotic, feeding beneficial gut bacteria and supporting digestive health at a foundational level. Apples are also rich in quercetin, catechin, and chlorogenic acid, plant compounds with documented anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Research published in multiple peer-reviewed journals has linked regular apple consumption to reduce risk of type 2 diabetes, improved heart health, and better weight management outcomes. One particularly compelling area of research involves apples and lung health. Studies have found associations between regular apple consumption and improved lung function and reduced risk of respiratory disease. That is a finding that goes far beyond what most people expect from a common fruit. There is a reason the oldest health proverb in the English language is about an apple a day. What ancient wisdom suggested, modern science has spent decades confirming. At number 3? Mulberries. Remember in the intro when I told you to stick around for number 3? A fruit so rich in antioxidants that researchers say it may actually slow the aging process at the cellular level. This is it. Mulberries are referenced in the Bible in 2 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, where David receives divine instruction near mulberry trees, marking them as significant landmarks in some of the most pivotal military moments in biblical history. In ancient Middle Eastern culture, mulberry trees were valued both for their fruit and their practical uses, deeply embedded in the agricultural fabric of biblical civilization. But what modern science has discovered about mulberries is genuinely extraordinary. Mulberries contain exceptionally high concentrations of resveratrol, anthocyanins, and cyanidin, antioxidant compounds that research has linked to cellular protection against oxidative stress. Studies have shown that mulberry consumption supports healthy blood sugar regulation by inhibiting certain digestive enzymes that break down carbohydrates. Research has also documented that mulberry extracts demonstrate significant anti-inflammatory properties and potential protective effects against neurodegenerative disease. Most remarkably, the anthocyanins found in mulberries have been studied specifically for their ability to protect DNA from oxidative damage, which is directly linked to cellular aging. That is not a marketing claim. That is peer-reviewed science talking about a fruit that biblical figures walked past every single day. Ancient people didn't need an anti-aging cream. They had mulberry trees. For number 2 on the list is pistachios. There is a moment in Genesis chapter 43 that most people read right past. Jacob, one of the most significant figures in the entire biblical narrative, is sending his sons on a critical mission to Egypt during a devastating famine. And among the most precious gifts he chooses to send is pistachios. Not gold. Not silver. Pistachios. That single detail tells you everything about how valued this fruit was in the ancient world. In a moment of desperation and diplomacy, a biblical patriarch reached for pistachios as something worthy of a ruler. And modern science is now showing us exactly why that instinct was correct. Pistachios are one of the most nutrient-complete fruits in existence. They are exceptionally rich in protein, healthy monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, and fiber, making them one of the most satiating and metabolically supportive foods ever studied. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has shown that regular pistachio consumption is associated with significant reductions in LDL cholesterol and improvements in overall cardiovascular health. Studies have also documented that pistachios have one of the highest antioxidant capacities of any nut or seed ever measured, comparable in some research to pomegranates and elderberries. Perhaps most remarkably, pistachios contain lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 compounds that research has specifically linked to protection against age-related macular degeneration, one of the leading causes of blindness in the world. They also contain melatonin, making them one of the very few whole foods with documented effects on sleep quality. Jacob knew what he was doing when he packed those pistachios. He was sending one of the most powerful healing foods on earth. Number 1 on the list goes to mandrakes. We have saved the most fascinating entry on this entire list for last. And if you make it through this one, you will never look at biblical history the same way again. Mandrakes appear in one of the most intriguing stories in the entire book of Genesis. Rachel and Leah, the two wives of Jacob, negotiate over mandrakes in chapter 30 with such intensity that one trades a night with her husband just to obtain them. That is not a casual exchange. That is a story that tells you mandrakes were considered extraordinarily valuable, deeply connected to fertility, healing, and vitality in the ancient world. Mandrakes were so prized throughout the ancient Middle East that they were referenced in medical texts, used by Egyptian healers, and carried a reputation that stretched across multiple civilizations simultaneously. And here is where modern science enters the conversation in a very serious way. Mandrakes belong to the mandragora plant family and contain naturally occurring compounds including scopolamine and hyoscyamine, alkaloids that modern medicine has actually derived pharmaceutical applications from. Scopolamine is currently used in modern medicine for motion sickness and nausea treatment. Hyoscyamine has documented applications in treating gastrointestinal disorders. These are not folk remedies that were later dismissed. These are compounds that ancient people identified through observation that modern pharmacology eventually caught up to and put into actual medical use. Research has also documented that mandrake has historically been used for its analgesic and sedative properties, with ancient surgeons using it as one of the earliest recorded forms of anesthesia before surgical procedures. The ancient world did not have operating rooms, but they had mandrakes. And what they understood about this plant through thousands of years of careful observation, modern medicine eventually confirmed and put into pill form. You started this video with pomegranates. You are ending it with a plant so powerful that it literally gave birth to modern pharmaceutical compounds. And every single fruit on this list was hiding in plain sight in the most widely read book in human history. Now you know, of years of careful observation, modern medicine eventually confirmed and put into pill form. You started this video with pomegranates. You are ending it with a plant so powerful that it literally gave birth to modern pharmaceutical compounds. And every single fruit on this list was hiding in plain sight in the most widely read book in human history. Now you know.